there a galactic federation of human and non-human beings that govern a lot of stuff that goes on in the galaxy and the cosmos as a whole, other dimensions and so on? So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and smash the bell to be notified of future videos. And of course, join me on social media. Facebook and Twitter links are below. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, the idea of the Galactic Federation has been around for a while. Of course, that sounds very Star Trek-y, and when I first heard it, I just totally dismissed it. These people have been watching too much Star Trek. Now, I love Star Trek, especially the original series, but when the alien narrative starts to reflect Star Trek, you have to wonder if they're just making stuff up, right? But then along comes Haim Eshed, the Israeli brigadier general, a very highly respected guy who was one of the top people in the Israeli space program. And very old man comes out saying that, yes, there is a galactic federation. Certain human governments and leaders know about it and have been keeping this secret, and we are not ready, and we won't be ready until we know what space and time is. Crazy stuff like that. But a really highly respected guy who would be in a position to know this stuff. And when he said this, I started to take the people that talk about the Galactic Federation more seriously. Sometimes they call it the Galactic Federation of Light. And it is, in essence, the good guys. There's the dark forces and the bad guys, and then there's the Federation composed of all these races and, people from different dimensions and so on. And they seem to be more benevolent and not malicious and malevolent and warlike and, want to kill us all. So they generally want to help us and help the light, in general. So so I started kind of researching the Galactic Federation, and it's all mixed up. Some of the people that talk about it are very new agey, very woo-woo, and I really resonate with the woo-woo, but, you have to govern yourself and, the information you receive and how you interpret that. And, so who knows? I'm still kind of on the fence about the Galactic Federation. And once you start naming the names of the races, the Pleiadians and the Arcturians, it all sounds very fantastic, very made up, right? At least that was my original thinking when I started hearing, the members of the Federation, composed of various races. Well, of course, if there are non-human beings, they would have races. They would belong to certain planets. They would have certain cultures. There would be empires. There would, conflicts between these groups. So they would have names, the names that we have given them or they have given us to call them may or may not be accurate. But it's what a lot of people call them. Like the Pleiadians, I don't think actually come from the Pleiades cluster, at least in our current reality or vibration. They are supposed to come from a higher dimension. Same with the Arcturians and so on. Even the Greys are higher dimensional beings. And anyway, it gets weird. It gets crazy. But that may be what we are dealing with, is something like this. And the clip I'm about to play is this lady who is an experiencer. She's a high-level experiencer, supposedly. And she has a lot of out-of-body experiences where she interacts with cosmic beings. And on this one occasion, she was invited to go to the meeting, a big meeting with the Galactic Federation in the Hollow Moon. And she has gone to other meetings since then, but not in the moon. So I'm not going to play the whole clip, and it's an hour and a half long speech, and I encourage you to go check it out. But let's hear a couple minutes of what she has to say about this giant meeting of the Galactic Federation and the moon. Here goes.
At 2 a.m. on the dot, boom, he comes into the room, and says, all right, Elizabeth, are you ready? And I said, yes. And he says, all right, follow me. And so at this point, astral traveling, remote viewing, super easy for me. Get out of my body, I follow him. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder where this meeting is going to take place. And so we start traveling, floating around. All of a sudden, we're getting off this planet. All of a sudden, we're floating out of the atmosphere. I'm like, oh, okay, didn't expect this. All of a sudden, we're going to the moon. And I'm getting excited. This is great. We're going to have a meeting with the Galactic Federation on the moon. There must be some sort of base there. I didn't know at this point. Turns out we went to the moon, but instead of going on the moon for this meeting, we actually went inside the moon. I don't know if any of you knew that the moon was hollow and it's actually just a satellite device. Yeah, a couple of you, cool. I didn't know at this time that the moon was hollow. So we astral travel inside the center of the moon, and I just want to explain what I stepped into, right? So I kind of travel into this room. I mean, right away, right when he leads me there, he's gone, which is fine. And it's this giant circular room, something like right out of Star Trek or Star Wars. And on the outside of this room, inside the moon, are all these seats, kind of like a giant stadium. And in all of these seats are hundreds of thousands of interdimensional beings from all over the universe. And it seemed like there was two, kind of like ambassadors or representers of each species, right? Two of each species that were there. So I'm like looking around, like obviously I want to creep on all the different beings. There was like little troll beings. There was a lot of humanoid-looking beings. There was weird gray beings. There was like rhinoceros-looking beings. There was insectoid beings. There's blobular beings. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then there was also tens of thousands of astral bodies that were also just floating around the room, right? You don't really have to have a seat for an astral body. And so I was one of these astral bodies. Now, floating right in the center of this giant room in the moon was this platform. The platform was floating, and standing on the floating platform was two beings. One, a very tall, probably around 8, maybe even 9 feet tall, a gray, but not the type of gray that I was used to seeing. It was also a female as well, darker skinned gray. She had a huge bulbous head, very lovely energy, and she almost had dark purple markings on her. And then standing beside her was a much shorter, also weird-looking gray being. And I kind of knew that she was going to be the presenter of this meeting. And she starts to talk. And of course, she's speaking telepathically. And at the time, I didn't really recognize it, but I mean, I was hearing her as English. So whatever she was saying telepathically was instantaneously translated to whatever language that being had at the time.
Now she goes on and there gives a lot more detail about what the meeting was about and the great cosmic war and, you know, so on, and humanity's an experiment and yada, yada, yada. I know, right? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. All the big things, yada, yada, yada. But, you know, it's the typical sort of stuff you get with the you know, cosmic entities and, you know, what the messages they're trying to get across. So, you know, who knows? I'm not saying that this actually happened or that, you know, she's on the level, but I'm not saying she's not either, because these sorts of things seem like they're what's taking place. You know, we have people like Haima Shed and other credible people that are talking about this. So, you know, I think that some version of this appears to be real. And of course, there would be a federation, right? There would be, I mean, we have the UN, right? We have NATO. We have, you know, we have analogs to the Galactic Federation here on Earth. So it is not too preposterous to think that myriad races and types of entities united by a desire, you know, not to wipe each other out, you know, a more of a benevolent desire, would unite and have some interactions between the races and form alliances and treaties. And there's all the metaphysical stuff that goes along with it. So Anyway, let me know what you think, guys. I know this starts to get big and weird and crazy when you start talking about this. But if there are non-humans, if the phenomenon is real, and it is, then of course there are different races and different beings. And you know, they need some sort of bureaucratic mechanism to get along and to advance their various agendas. So this Galactic Federation seems like it is at least one of those mechanisms. But, you know, I would love more evidence, and there's various other people that have come out talking about this. I've given a couple examples in this video, but there are a myriad of other people that have experienced the Galactic Federation or that talk about this stuff. And, you know, depending on your woo-woo threshold, you know, people like on Gaia TV will talk about this and others. But, you know, they do tend to be more out-of-body experiences that people interact with these guys and that sort of thing. So, again, you know, woo-woo warning on that kind of stuff. But I tend to buy it because it makes sense to me. But let me know what you think. Does it make sense to you? What do you think is really going on? So if you've enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. Facebook and Twitter links are below. And of course, check out some of my other videos. See you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.